sat with all of them. I was with Lucy and all the different stars. And we were schmoozing with all of them. Yeah. And our VIP guy, he was our tour guide we had on the VIP tour. He's just looking at us. He says, "Who are you really?" I said, "We're just friends." He says, "I'm just a talker. I love to meet people."
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. For our friends on Zoom, I just want to do a quick sound check. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay, great. I'm glad to hear it. We are going to get started this Shabbat with a nigun. It's raining pics. Hallelujah. A nigun to the melody that we started learning last week. Some of us may be more familiar with it than others, but sing along as it becomes familiar, or even as it remains unfamiliar and you're just singing along. Whatever feels natural to you, we encourage you to help us get into the Shabbat spirit. Yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai dai dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai dai dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai dai dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai dai dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai dai dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai dai dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai. It's my pleasure to invite Janice Fontano to help us welcome the Shabbat with the lighting of Shabbat candles. The blessing for the candles will end up being on page 120.
We offer thanks, O God, for this Shabbat, which unites us in faith and hope, for Shabbat holiness, which inspires sacred living, for Shabbat memories glowing even in darkness, for Shabbat peace, born of friendship and love. We offer thanks and blessing, O God. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher Kitchanu b'mitzvotav v'tzibanu l'chadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Thank you. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. We are on page 130 with the words Lechu neranana ladonai. We are on page 138 with the words of Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi likrat kalai yalalai 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 b'nei Shabbat v'kavela. Please be seated. And we are on page 142 for the words of Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeitzchem L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We rise on page 146 with the words of the Baruch Hu. Be seated. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tsevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. Page 152. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha. Ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha. Veshinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shiftecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'aderech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha u'kshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. Page 157. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot. That wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. We sing words of joy, words of awe, words of gratitude. Mi chamocha on page 158. Before we share words of Hashkivenu, asking God that we're able to lie down in peace and receive some sort of rest when we sleep this evening, let's take a moment to plant our feet firmly in the ground, to sit up straight, and to take a deep breath. May each deep breath that we take, both as we sleep and as we are awake, rejuvenate us and give us the energy we need for whatever tomorrow brings. We're on page 160. Give us a place to rest, Adonai, our God. Bring us into the shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah, atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Baruch atah, atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Ve'al Yerushalayim, ve'al kol amo. Ve'al Yerushalayim, shalom. Ve'al Yerushalayim, ve'al kol amo. Ve'al Yerushalayim, shalom. Baruch atah, atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. We are on the next page with the words of Vishamru. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael please rise in all the ways that you are able as we turn to page 164 for the Amidah. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, Ve'koneh Hakol, Ve'zocher Chasdei Avot V'imahot, U'mevii Geula Livnei V'neihem, Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh hakol atah Rav le'Hoshia. Morid hatal, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechayeh hakol berachamim rabim. Somech noflim ve'rofei cholim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato, lishenei afar, michamocha ba'al gevurot, umido melach, melech memitz umechayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman atah lahachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yehalalucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. Please take a moment for your own silent prayer, reading either the pages of the Siddur or the pages of your heart. And feel free to be seated when your prayer is finished. this weekend, we are going to be celebrating Shavuot. Shavuot is the holiday that we are said to have received the Ten Commandments, the Torah, Revelation, some sort of message. And our sages tell us that during the episode at Mount Sinai, receiving whatever it was that we were receiving, that the soul of every person of Israel, every member of Am Yisrael was present at Mount Sinai. So we've been thinking a lot about what it means that all of the people of the past were there, but also what does it mean that we too were there and that our future generations were there as well. And with that in mind, I want to share this story. A king had just been blessed by a baby boy, with a baby boy. And he wanted to create a beautiful room that would give his son great joy. So the king sent his ministers out to the many provinces of his kingdom with a mandate: return with 4 of the finest artists in the land. It was the king's intention to put each artist in charge of painting one wall of his son's room. That way, the king reasoned, the 4 walls of the room would reflect the greatest creativity and inspiration and vision of the kingdom. Is this better? I'm going to guess it's better because I can hear myself a little more. My apologies to our friends on Zoom who were having a little bit of trouble hearing me. Once the ministers returned, the artists were brought to the king, and he gave them their charge. He explained that each artist was to have one wall on which to create the most beautiful, inspirational, visionary mural that they possibly could. Then my little boy will have beauty all about him when he's in his room, the king said. Next, the king told the artists that they would each have 1 month in which to paint the walls. And at the end of the month, the artist who had created the most beautiful wall would receive a pot of gold. The work began, and throughout the month, the artists scurried about every day, going from one side to the other, to the other, to the other, and they were grabbing their materials and doing all of their designs and working diligently and assembling everything together. And everyone was very busy, except for one artist who was not really that busy at all. In fact, it was not uncommon for him to go over to the wall, sit, think, maybe even take a nap. And meanwhile, the other artists are going from side to side, really looking at their designs, making sure that everything is going to be in just the right place. The first artist decided that she was going to fill her walls with the faces of people of the kingdom because she knew that the king loved his subjects so very much. The second artist, and one could see his creation begin to materialize on the wall, was painting a great landscape, depicting the parts of the realm that were extraordinarily beautiful. That way, the artist reasoned, the prince would grow up loving the land that he would ultimately rule. The third artist was busy creating his work, which was going to be a portrait of the king himself. That way, the king's son would always have his father's kindly face watching over him. No one knew what the fourth artist was going to do. Days and weeks passed, and there he was, sitting, thinking, napping. And then finally, it was the last day before judging was to take place, and that was when the last artist got going. He ran in and out with boxes of all kinds of things, and he was so busy. He was very busy, and no one knew exactly what he was doing. Still, he worked very hard that last day. As the sun set, the door to the prince's room was locked. The following morning, as the sun rose, the king came into the room with all of his ministers to see the painted room for the first time. The artists needed no reminding that there would be a judgment about which was the most beautiful, and that the artist who had created the most beautiful wall would receive a prize of gold. What a wonderful reward. Upon entering his son's new room, the king went to the first wall, and he beheld it. He was so moved beyond words. He knew that this wall would speak to his son of the loveliness of each person that he cared so much about. His heart beat rapidly as his eyes filled with tears, and he was just so overjoyed that he snapped his fingers, and a great pot of gold was placed at the bottom of that wall. At the second wall, the king saw the beautiful landscape of his kingdom, and he was again moved beyond words. He knew that this wall would speak to his son of the beauty in the land that he hoped his son would always cherish, and inspire him to take care of that very land. The king snapped his fingers again, and a second pot of gold was placed on the floor beneath the portrait. The king continued to make his way around the room, and in front of the third wall, he gasped, "What is that? It is a picture of me." And the king was a humble, modest man, but he was moved by this because the artist had made such an extraordinarily beautiful and kind portrait of him. He hoped that his son would see the kindness shine through in his picture. So he snapped his fingers, and the ministers brought yet another pot of gold and placed it under the portrait. Finally, he made his way to the last wall, the fourth wall, and with one look, his breath was completely taken away. He looked at the wall, and what did he see? The artist had cleverly placed pieces of a mirror on the wall in such a way to capture each of the other three walls: the king's portrait, the beautiful landscape, and the faces of the people in the kingdom, all on a single mirror-filled wall. "It is most beautiful," exclaimed the king. The king promptly thanked the fourth artist very, very much, and then he turned to leave the room. Hold on, wait a minute. That's right. Where is my gold? You said that the artist who created the most beautiful wall would receive the great reward, and these other artists have gotten rewards, and I've gotten nothing? You said my wall was the most beautiful of all. "Oh, but you don't understand," the king said. "Come here." The king and the fourth artist walked to the mirrored wall. Look there," the king said, pointing at the mirror. "Don't you see? There are 3 pots of gold right before you." And then the king walked out of the room. In many ways, we are both the king and the artists. We seek the beautiful dreams and inspirations for our future generations. We are inspired by our community and by our beautiful surroundings and by our leaders and by the ideas of others. And we are, like the artists, responsible for doing the dreaming and visioning to contribute to the beauty of our future. As you may be aware, we are in the midst of collecting both our memories of Temple Beth Torah and our dreams for the future. And we are in the midst of collecting, and one of the things that we've noticed is how beautiful our memories have been and how we're waiting to be inspired by other people's dreams. Of course, we should look to the dreams of others, but it is also our responsibility to think about what our dreams are for our future, what our dreams are for the future of Temple Beth Torah and for our future generations. And so as we close out this evening, I want to ask us, each for ourselves, what does your fourth wall look like? If you were the artist in the room, what is your vision and your inspiration and your thing of beauty that will guide us and our future generations? For those who are joining us in person, you may notice either in front of you or behind you or near the entrance, there are some cards, some note cards where you can write a line or two of a hope or a dream or a vision for our future that we can bring in to our poem that we will construct. And for those who are joining us online, I hope that you will go to our website where you can find the form and take a moment to seek inspiration and to contribute to the inspiration of others in the room so that we all can both look at our own dreams and to look at the mirror looking at others. Cain Yehiratzon, may this be God's will. We continue on page 586 with the words of Aleinu. Please rise in all the ways you are able. That is correct. We are going to do Misha Berach first. Please be seated. I'm sorry, everyone. If you want to take a moment to get back in the spirit of Torah, I apologize for having had us do some calisthenics. That kind of gets us out of the Torah mood. So let's take a moment and let's get back in the Torah space. And we think of those who are in need of healing of body, healing of spirit. If you are thinking of someone who's in need of any sort of healing and you are joining us online, I encourage you to hold their name or their face in your heart. And you can choose to say their name out loud to someone else in the room or type their name in the chat. And for those who are in the room with us, I encourage you to share their name aloud or in your heart as my hand passes over your section.
Maria Latendra, Shirley Smith, Adrian Brown, Craig Spiegel, and Bruce Baldwin. Sherry King, Ann Hudson, Ida Alexander. My sister Jeannie Allen and Jerry Ann. Jack Bell.
We'll pause a moment in case people are still typing. For all those names that we have said aloud, those that we've kept in our hearts, and those that we've typed in the chat, we wish them a refuah shlema, a full healing. The words of Misha Berach can be found on page 371. And now we continue with our calisthenics on page 586. Please rise in all the ways that you are able. Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula liotzer breshit, Shalom sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gom samanu kamishpachot adama. Shalom sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor alinu kechol hamonam. Va'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, V'nemar, V'haya Adonai, Lemelech al kol haaretz, Bayom hahu, Bayom hahu, Yeh Adonai echad, Ushemo, Ushemo, Ushemo echad. Please be seated. We pause for a moment to think of those who have been blessings to our lives, who are no longer with us. As your loved one's name is read, please rise. We are remembering with tenderness those who have died during the past 30 days. Joyce Lindstrom, remembered by Arlen Bitter-Peavy. Joanne Hageman, remembered by Ann Anderson. And this Shabbat, we remember the yahrzeits of the following people. Molly Simon Becker, mother of Rebecca Miller. Sarah Kaplan, mother of Malcolm Kaplan. Peggy Cochran, mother of Dennis Gay. Gertrude Eisenbruck, mother of Alan Eisenbruck. Anna Fishman, remembered by Arlen Bitter Peavy. Lois Flam, mother of Stephen Flam. Benjamin Katz, father of Phyllis Domino. Jeanette Naftali, mother of Arthur Naftali. And Shirley Toland, mother of Ann D. Wilson. We now invite all who are in their first year of mourning to rise. And we now rise as a community with our mourners. And turn to page 598 for the words of the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitzgadal v'yitzkadash shmei Rabba, be'alma divrach chirute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon uvyomechon, uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru, Amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevorach le'olam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru, Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru, Amen. Zichronam livracha, may all of their memories be for a blessing, to which we say, Amen. Please be seated. We now come to announcements, and I believe that Rick will be sharing announcements from out in the ether world.
Woo! Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Let's see how many times I can cough. Shavuot is tomorrow. Join us and Congregation Beth Emek here at Temple Beth Torah at 7:30 for a service and study session. The service will be multi-access and on in person and on Zoom, followed by an in-person only study session. Then on Sunday at noon, we'll have the Shavuot edition of Soulful Storytime with a special ice cream social to follow. Pre-registration is encouraged. There will also be an online Shavuot Yizkor service at 10:30 a.m. on Sunday. The annual congregation meeting is Wednesday, June 8th at 7 p.m. Once again, this will be a Zoom-only meeting, and pre-registration by Monday, June 6th is required. The meeting is only open to current TBT members. The link to the meeting will be sent to those who have pre-registered on Tuesday, June 7th. Have you RSVP'd for the 60th anniversary cabaret on June 25th yet? Don't wait for the last minute, or you might lose out on joining us. Please note that the event will now be primarily outdoors, and dressy casual to cocktail attire is suggested. Also, please don't forget to check out our TBT 60th anniversary information page on the website. You'll find links to register for the Rockin' Shabbat on June 24th and pay for a greeting in the cabaret's printed program, among other info. And while you're there, add your voice to our community poem using the online form. You can also contribute using the cards on the table in the social hall. It's easy, just a sentence or two, no prior writing experience necessary. We're also still looking for contributions of items to be included in our silent auction, as well as our sponsors for the printed program and cabaret. On Thursday, June 9th, at 7 p.m., join Rabbi Zoe as she emcees the California Religious Action Center of Reform Judaism's new Climate Justice Campaign kickoff. This initiative aims to build a Jewish interfaith and multiracial coalition powerful enough to address the climate crisis that is impacting every Californian. This summer, we're building a community of wellness. TBT is partnering with Keep Moving with Sherry, run by longtime TBT member and yoga fitness instructor Sherry Plaza, to offer 2 free virtual classes in June and July, Gentle Yoga and Keep It Moving. They begin on June 17th. You'll find details in the weekly and on our webpage. Thank you to Joel Straude and Susan Amaro for representing the worship committee, and to Sean Rahman for being on AV. And a special thanks to Michelle Eisenbrook, who, week in and week out, has been diligently recording all the music we've used in our services on J-License. Since streaming constitutes broadcasting, this allows us to use the copyrighted material of the large number of artists who create the large library of modern Judaic music, which inspires our prayers. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. And as always, thank you to Rick for everything, but also for sharing the announcements this Shabbat. We continue with some blessings. We will start with blessings of family. And so I encourage you to reach out to someone who you identify as family, whether it is chosen family, biological family, adopted family, however you define family, reach out. And if you are not in the same space as someone who you'd like to send this blessing to, I encourage you to close your eyes and to send them a blessing as well. Hold their name or a picture of their face in your heart. May God bless you and keep you. May God shine God's face upon you and be gracious to you. May God's face turn to you and grant you peace, to which we say, Amen. And now for Kiddush. If you are online, now is your time to take 2.5 seconds to grab a sweet beverage, as long as it's not water. And if you would like to follow along with the words, they are on page 123. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon henchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemikrae kodesh zecher letziat Mitzrayim kivanu b'charta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim ve'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. L'chaim. And now we'll bless the motzi. But before I do, I just want to say that if you will attend our Shavuot service and study tomorrow evening, we're going to have an oneg, which is very exciting. And so whether you come for the prayer or the learning or the noshing or the friends, I hope that you will join us. Today we'll be blessing some challah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'te'avon. We will close this evening with another prayer for peace, because you can never pray too much for peace. We will pray, or we will sing the words, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Indeed, peace shall arrive to us, if only the cords. There we go. It was hiding under the challah. Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.